Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, May 24th, hump day. Hopefully y'all are having a good morning so far. Markets are off to a tough start with the S&P currently down by about 0.5%, with the futures at 41.38 as of right now, and SPY currently trading at $412.20, down from $414 at close yesterday. Yesterday we had a really bad close to start with. We started selling off around 12 o'clock, and it was just downhill from there, especially after crossing the 417 level. Markets did not handle that too well, and then this morning we actually ended up crossing below the 413.50 level, which is exactly where we ended up squeezing a couple days ago. Or I guess more than a couple days ago. It was back here. As soon as we crossed 413.50, we ended up squeezing up. And then we ended up crossing the 418.21 level, squeezed up after that. And now we just had two squeezes down, losing all of what we gained in that little squeeze. So probably going to see some more downside today. A lot of talks on the debt ceiling and not making really any progress, it doesn't seem like. Reading the headlines this morning, McCarthy says debt ceiling talks are still productive. Negotiators will get together this morning, says he has not spoken to Biden since Monday in 2 days. Let's see what else. We have GOP negotiators resuming debt talks this morning. So they're definitely, trying to work out a deal, but they're just so far apart in terms of what they want for the debt limit. Obviously, GOP wants to cut spending in major ways, and then Democrats want to increase tax revenue, so they have to meet somewhere in the middle. So until they can finally find common ground, we'll probably have a lot of volatility. I'll probably see some more downside. Good morning, Kamala. Good morning, Brian. No problem. Glad that you're here with us. The VIX is currently up by 7% this morning. Pretty big move for the VIX, and finally breaking out of the range that it's been in for the past 3 weeks. It's just continued to get rejected at about $18. We finally broke above that level, almost headed back to where we were on May 4th at 21.33, but not quite there. So again, like I said, expect some volatility in the market. The VIX is actually starting to form a bullish trend at 60 on the RSI for the daily chart. Not sure where I would really expect it to end up topping. Depends on this debt ceiling drama and how far it goes until the X date, which is going to be June 1st. SPY calls around 410.25. Let's see. 410 is definitely a decent support level that we've continued to kind of bounce on for the past month. I've got, I would say 408. No. Yeah, around 410 is where we end up bouncing each time. So that might be a decent idea if you expect the debt ceiling to be resolved relatively quick. My guess is they probably push it till the last minute, which is June 1st is the X date. Today is May 24th, so we have 8 days. They could fast track it through the Senate, but I think usually it takes a week for any bills to get passed through the Senate. So we'll see how this ends up unfolding over the next week or two. All right, now SPY is trading at 412.50. Got some supports at 412 so far. I'll be watching that 413.50 level, though. Again, this is where we ended up squeezing the last time. Whenever we went up a ton, 1% on last Thursday and last Friday. So if we do end up above that, you might end up getting more squeezes. But right now we're below it. I would imagine that we'd have a decent sell-off because of that level being lost. A lot of people ended up going long above 413.50 whenever we crossed it. So now those people are in the red. All right, QQQ started the day down 0.6%. IWM, down 0.6% as well. Let's see, SPY is down 0.45, and the Dow is actually doing the best, only down by 0.2% this morning. All right. Thinking about looking at 413 puts for SPY. They're probably already up a ton just because we fell 0.5% after hours, and the VIX is almost $20. But let's see what we can buy these for. 413 puts expiring today. Currently going for $184. Very expensive today. Apple looks like it wants to take off. Let's see. All of the big tech names are to the downside today. Tesla's down 2%. NVDA down 1.7% at $301. Jesus. Yikes. Almost losing the 300 level. Apple is trading at 171. It does have that support right around this price. 171.31. Well, I guess it ended up losing that support overnight. But if it does end up managing to stay above, that would be bullish for Apple. Amazon is the only big tech name that's up this morning, up about 0.5%. There's a lot of options action on Amazon yesterday. I think there was like someone who ended up buying $250 million worth of Amazon calls expiring in September. So that's kind of what's keeping it up, I would imagine. The only thing, considering that all the other big tech names are down the last couple of days. Surprisingly, my NVDA trade is actually not doing as well as I thought it would have, considering that we're getting closer to my price targets of 290, and the implied volatility should be going up because today is their earnings report. So kind of shocked to see that trade on the downside this morning. But right now, SPY is just below 412. So we ended up breaking that support level for the moment. I'm not sure if we'll end up above it or below in the first 5 minutes, but that'll probably determine where we go for the rest of the day. My guess, we're probably just going to be down or flat today. I would imagine below 413.50. That would be a decent price level to guess below for today. So either we're going to trade between 412.50 and 413.50 if we don't have any updates for the debt ceiling, or maybe we end up falling below 412 today. Not sure where we would go to the downside, just because my next price level is so far down at 408.46. I think 410 would be reasonable, or like 410.50 or so, somewhere in that range. But even that's another 0.5%, which is pretty unusual for SPY to fall 1% in a day. Yesterday, I think it fell 1%, so likelihood of that happening again is pretty low, I would imagine. We got a few names going green in the big tech. Amazon up 1%, Meta up 0.07, and Apple up by 0.2. So, big tech trying to recover here. Which could be a decent setup to go bullish on the Qs. Currently trading at 332. Nothing will surprise me anymore. Yeah, this market is cray cray. Trying to look for one of the big names that would end up recovering today. Tesla has lost the worst this morning, up down 1.8% to 182. Next price level to the upside would be 188. I'd say that would be a stretch for today. NVDA all the way down at 302.50. Maybe we could see it above 303 again today. Google popping off first thing this morning. Decent rally, going above 50 RSI, looking bullish there. Very similar to what you're seeing for QQQ though. And then Meta is the big winner today, up by 0.5%. Amazon up by 1.3 at the moment. Catching that support at 114.76 first thing this morning. Nice little V-shaped recovery from the pre-market. SPY still looks like it wants to head down though. We're trading at 30 RSI, so very bearish right there. But QQQ is kind of keeping everything steady so far this morning. We only have one name that's doing really well, which is Amazon, up 1.3%. The rest of them, Apple and Meta, are only up by like 0.2%, so it's not that much. And then the other names, Tesla and NVIDIA, are down 1.5% and 2%. So those are kind of putting a major drag on the Qs. So maybe shorting Qs could be a better trade here. You would be going against momentum. Right now it's at 52 for RSI. But if Amazon, Meta, Apple start to lose their ground, you could see a decent pullback. Right now it's trading at 332. The 332 puts for today are going for 130. They're kind of expensive. Usually you would only pay like 90 cents to $1.10 for those options, but they got the premiums pretty jacked up on the puts today. All right, let me look for those and see what the best prices are this morning. Right now they're at 130. The lowest that they got this morning was 120. Okay. So we see Amazon, Meta, Apple pullback. That would definitely drag Qs down. All right. Looking to buy QQQ 332 put with stop loss at 120. Let me tag people. Obviously, the lower that I get it, the less I have to lose with my stop loss. So Right now they're going for 134. I would like to get them for less than 130 ideally. Is NVIDIA earnings after hours? Yes, that is going to be after hours today. Why are the contracts so expensive? Just because implied volatility is up today. The VIX is trading at 20, so that's raising the volatility across the board, which makes the contracts more expensive. All right, Amazon's up 1.2, Meta's up 0.3, Apple only up 0.1 now. All right, so let me look into these Q puts. Again, choosing the 332 strike. The cheaper we can get them, the better. Let's see. And SPY's just below 412, so looking like a decent entry. They just widened the bid-ask spread by a couple dollars, so making a little dodgy of a trade. All right, I'll try to get in at 128. I think that's reasonable. 125 actually. Now we're getting too close to my stop loss at 123. Yeah. So, not sure I'll enter this one just yet. Amazon's up 1.4% now. Apple 0.2. You're seeing NVIDIA gaining a little bit of ground, not really much. All right. Well, if Q's is headed up this morning and SPY is at 412, probably going to be trading either flat or up today. So maybe go in 411, 410, put credit spread for SPY might be a good idea. And then keeping an eye on Q's to see if we do see a continuation on that rally. Seems to be having trouble at 332 right now. But Amazon's really leading the way, up 1.5%, almost back to yesterday's highs at 117. So going against the Qs is pretty hard if you have a $1 trillion company that's up by 2% almost, or 1.5%. We got Meta going negative now, so maybe we do have a pullback in store. Yep. All right. Well, I missed that one, unfortunately for us. SPY currently trading at 411.72. Coming back to 412 again. There's definitely a better opportunity in SPY just because we know that it's bearish right now at 30 RSI. Whereas Q's is sort of on the fence. These puts have already gained a crap ton this morning though. Trading at 143. The lowest that they got this morning was 105. And the VIX just went above 20 right now. Tesla's trading pretty flat. Let's see. Yeah, it's trading at 181, not really moving much off the morning start. Amazon's losing its ground, only up 1.1% now. Really thinking about going short on Amazon, especially after getting rejected at the same highs as yesterday. Maybe going a couple strike prices higher. But I do know that there's somebody on the other side of that trade that's wanting this thing to go up with that $250 million call option. So that does kind of worry me with that. But let's see. If we go with Friday expiration, a couple dollars higher at like a 119, put, you're paying $325 on it. Which is about the cheapest that you can get them, since we're trading close to those highs. And all the other big tech names, besides Meta and Apple, are down. Tesla doing the worst, 2.5% today. They're dropping these contracts below 300 for the 119 Amazon puts expiring this Friday. Maybe I can go with next week's expiration too. That's what I did for AMD yesterday. That actually ended up working really well. Let's see. They're going for 380 next week's expiration, 119. Amazon's pulling back right now. All right, I'll snag them at 390, I think. Hopefully I can get in quickly. And no, they just increased the bid on me. Did not get that contract in time. All right. just opened a new Amazon 119 put expiring next week, 6/2 at 4 each. Just one of them. I did not get that price right. But yeah, QQQ falling 0.5% now, down to 331 from 332. SPY's down to 411.50, down from about 412 this morning. So let's see if Amazon starts losing some ground after this morning rally. If everything else is coming down, I would think that Amazon would get a little bit of selling pressure at least. Probably want to close if it goes maybe below 115.50. Maybe 115 if I'm lucky. That would be a bit of a stretch, I think. I did not create that alert. Where'd it go? Oh. 115.5. At or below. Tesla's down by 3% today. Wow. Rough day on Tesla. Support at 177.50. Currently trading at 179.50. NVDA is almost down to 300 again. Lots of Amazon buyers though. Trying to keep this thing afloat. AMD is down by 1.25%, which had kept those puts. I had 112 puts expiring next week. This would have been a little bit more profitable. I ended up closing them, I think, at 108, so that would have been another $100, maybe $120. Interesting. Republican Graves says not any progress on the debt ceiling talks. This morning, McCarthy was saying the opposite. He said that there was progress being made, still productive. And the negotiator Graves is saying the opposite. So very conflicting views between the two, the negotiator and McCarthy. All right. Just got a drop on Amazon. That should send Q's down a bit, I would think, since that's the one that's up a major amount. I'm not really seeing any reaction from Q's. All right, these 332 puts are going for 150. So far this morning on Qs, we just have a range though, between about 331 and 332 and some change. And you're seeing more names in the green now. Microsoft 0.15, Meta 0.16, Apple 0.3, and Amazon still up by 1%. Qs is right at 50 on the RSI. So if there's any point to be bearish, this would be it. If it goes back above 50, that would turn bullish or neutral. Yeah, it looks like we just hit 50 RSI and pulled back. Amazon's trying to reclaim its morning highs. SPY is very bearish right now at 26 RSI. Dow is kind of what's holding it back at 32, since Q's is more neutral at 40. Yeah, Yellen should be speaking, I think, right now, actually. Yeah, she's supposed to be speaking. Well, I thought it was 10 a.m., but apparently 10:04, 10:05 maybe. Yeah, so it looks like Amazon tried to retest the highs from this morning, but did not make it. Now back down to 116. Hopefully it actually follows through with the 116 level. Last time it ended up bouncing back up and chopping back and forth. Yeah, now Q's is really getting bearish, 34 RSI. So everything's getting oversold this morning. Very weak price action, especially SPY's at 21. Dow is at 30. IWM is down at 26. So very brutal sell-off for the markets this morning. The VIX is up by 10% to 2040 right now. All right, there goes Amazon. A little bit lower. Still waiting on it to cross 115.50 in order for it to flip negative for the day. It would have to be below 115.01. It's about 75 cents away. Damn, QQQ is already down by 0.8%. SPY down 0.8% today. NVIDIA's too high on the IV. You could always do iron condors, or what I did was a double diagonal, which I thought would have actually been beneficial with the IV rising before earnings. But I think that option is actually down. No, I'm up by like $8. Not really much. Let's see. The bid ask on it is really bad though. Don't have margin for condors. Yeah. Need a margin account for that. 110 for profits on SPY. Very nice. Wish I'd gotten into those Q puts. But they went past my stop loss, so I didn't enter. Did get in on the Amazon puts, which kind of flat. Bottom at 400, they're going for 410 right now. If Amazon finally goes red and follows the rest of the market, that would make these pretty profitable. We're right below 50 RSI, so it's starting to look a little bit bearish, but more neutral. Yeah, maybe. NVIDIA's down to 300. It's fallen from 315 in the last couple of days. Very bad sell-off. Gold is down even at 0.25% right now in the red. You'd think that gold would do pretty well if the US could be on the verge of default. It's odd to see it coming down. But also just a reaction to the dollar going up a little bit to 103.60 right now. I'm trying to keep Amazon alive above 116, it seems like, today. It's basically the Q's last hope is Amazon being positive. Otherwise, you would probably see Q's down to like 327, 328 already. Calls on TQ is going to moon. Do I think AT&T is a good buy right now? Let's see. Oh, Netflix is positive too. Yeah, 1.35% to 360. After a pretty rough sell-off the last couple of days, just kind of going back to that 361 level. AT&T though, trading at 16 and falling like hell. The problem with AT&T's, I think the dividend is what, like 4 or 5%. So the problem with interest rates being as high as they are right now, why would you put your money into a stock that can lose value if you can just put that money into treasuries that are going to yield you the same? And then if you hold to maturity, then you don't have to worry about loss of value. So for AT&T, you're buying into a stock that's giving you the same payout as you can get from, money market fund or T-bills. So it's kind of hard to justify buying into AT&T with the dividend at 5%, or actually it's 7%. So it's a bit higher, but that's probably why you're seeing a lot of dividend stocks kind of getting whacked recently. And AT&T is like one of the holy grails of dividend stocks. So hard to say that it's a good buy. You are going to have some supports roughly at about 15 to 15.50. But I don't know if I would want to be a buyer in that. T-bills with junk bonds. QQQ going back up today. It's really going to depend, I feel like, on how Amazon performs. If Amazon can hold current price levels at 116, yeah, I would say Qs might hold up today. But if Amazon starts to slip, if we see Amazon going back to 115 or so, I think Qs is going to head back down some more, even down to probably like 329 or 328 would be my guess. And then Netflix, too, is one of the leaders, up 1.8% too. So if you see Amazon and Netflix pulling back, that's going to give up a little bit for Qs. SPY just ended up gaining some supports at 410.50. don't think I've heard of O. What do I think of AMD? I think it's a good sympathy trade for NVIDIA's earnings. It has already fallen from 111 to 107 right now, so it's hard to really take that short opportunity. I already bought a put yesterday and sold out the same day. When I was trading at like 110, I ended up closing at 108. So I've already taken my short position there. I probably wouldn't expect much more for it to the downside since it's already dropped like 6% or something from yesterday's highs, 5%. So probably going to be pretty flat post NVIDIA earnings would be my guess. And I'm expecting NVIDIA earnings to be flat too. I was saying between 290 and 330. I'd probably adjust that now to probably 285 to maybe 320. Yellen is speaking right now. So it is hard to be precise. Let's see what that news. Hard to be precise exactly which day we'll run out of resources, Yellen says. Believes a deal is possible to avoid the debt limit default. Biden's commitment that the U.S. will not default is important. Reiterates that the Treasury may run out of cash as soon as June 1st. They just dropped those puts for the 332 Qs down to 176 right now, down to 163 at the lowest. It's all about Amazon though, I feel like today. Amazon's still up 1%, so it's kind of holding the glue together for right now. Small caps are getting hit today, down 1.2% for the Russell. They were finally above the 179 level that they kept getting rejected by all month. Yellen says that we are seeing some stress in the financial markets. You think? Not really that much, honestly. SPY down 0.8% today is hardly anything. Unless she's talking about the treasury markets. Those have been just kind of chaotic all over the place. The 10-year is at 3.7. Just kind of steadily climbing for the past month from 3.3. What you are seeing is a lot of people piling into credit default swaps. Let's see, U.S. credit default swaps. The 1 years are going for 130 basis points right now is what it's saying. And I think this is the highest that we've seen this in history. Well, I thought I would get the chart, but apparently not. There it is. Yeah, currently at 131, which is the highest that we've ever seen this, even back in 2012. or 2011 when we were very close to default. Let's see if I can pull up the picture. Yeah, back in 2009, this was 70 basis points. 2011 was 35. And then 2011, it went all the way up to 70 basis points, and now we're at 130. NVIDIA set NVIDIA price target at 363 from Citibank. Hello, Yard Dog. Welcome. Man, they've got Amazon on a leash right now at 116. Yellen says we are committed to not having missed payments. I sure hope so. They're not involved in planning for what happens if there is a default. No contingency plan. That's great. Alright, looks like we're actually selling off a bit for Amazon. Forming a little bit of a trend line maybe, hopefully. Not really getting much of a trend line out of it, actually. Definitely starting to look bearish. 44 on the RSI. Hi, Glorian. Yellen was telling me. Took out an $80,000 car loan with $25,000 a year. Jeez. Yeah. Sounds like me back when I was 16. No, I didn't take out an $80,000 car loan, but I did get freaking bent over by the dealer. They gave me like a 15% APR on that car. You don't need collateral for debit spreads, correct? You only need the difference between the premiums. So if I want to open, say, an Amazon, put debit spread for this week, saying it's going to be below, I don't know, we'll call it crazy, 112, $3 drop. Pretty unlikely that it would happen, but we would buy the 113, sell the 112 that we think it's going to be below, and our cost for these is 17 cents. And that's all we need in order to open this contract is $17, since you're doing 100 shares. You don't need the collateral just for credit spreads. So if I took the opposite trade with the credit spread, put credit spread assuming over 113, I would need the difference between the strike price is $1 minus the credit 15 cents for collateral of $85. So what happens if your spread ends up worthless? That means that you just lose what you put in. So if I bought that debit spread, I would lose $17 if Amazon's above 113 by Friday. I made some decent gains yesterday. I think it was around 400. I was around 115 first thing on the open with SPY puts. AMD puts ended up giving me another $100. And then there's a third trade that I took. I don't remember what it was. But each one was about 100 that I had made. What happens if a short leg of an iron condor gets exercised early and you get margin called? Do you still have the long legs to limit the loss? If you get assigned for the short leg and an iron condor, you can just exercise the long leg. So let's set up something for Amazon. If I set up an iron condor for Amazon, 113 to 118. All right, let's say that Amazon ends up falling to $110 by Friday somehow, and the person that bought the 113 put decides to exercise that option, meaning that I get assigned on it. All right, so now I have to buy 100 shares of Amazon at $113. That's what I signed up for whenever I sold this put with a 113 strike price. But since I bought the 112 strike price, I can exercise this contract now in order to buy 100 shares of Amazon at 110 in order to sell it at 113. Or sorry, opposite way around, since it's puts. So I'd be buying 100 shares at 113, selling 100 shares at 112, taking the max loss on the trade. your broker will make it to where you can't trade any more contracts for the day, though, because your account will be in a deficit. But since you have a margin account, they'll be able to cover that trade for you to where you don't need to put up the cash in order to buy 100 shares of Amazon. If you don't have the margin to buy the stock with a broker, still do the exercise. Well, you don't need the margin amount. You just need a margin account in order for that trade to go through. They're not going to require you to have 100. Sorry, what is it? 100. They're not going to require you to have $10,000 of margin in order to make that trade. For a margin account, you only need $2,000 and you can start trading spreads. Amazon's getting so close to my take profit mark. Ooh, NVDA just dropped below 300. Woof. Woof, woof, woof. What if this price expires between the strike prices? That's when you can have some trouble. So if the stock ends up between the two strike prices, you run into what's known as pin risk, where your broker will start to exercise the long option, and then they'll cancel the assignment for the short option to where you'll have to buy or sell 100 shares of the stock. So in that case, you want to close the option before the expiration if there's any chance that the stock could be between your strike prices on the expiration. So say if, I don't know, Amazon's trading at 113.50 on my expiration date this Friday, and I'm assuming it's going to stay above 113 with the put credit spread, then I would want to close out of that. Just because there's a decent chance that it could be below 113, and I would have to buy 100 shares at 113. What do I think of the Republicans' bill proposal for the U.S. debt? I think both sides of the aisle are being a pain in the ass. But I would say that we do need to cut a lot of government spending. And I don't know about raising taxes is never going to be like a popular thing. So I think that cutting government spending is definitely the way to go in terms of like PR. Especially just given how much money the government spends, especially on like things like defense. There's a lot of money that goes into defense that we really don't even know where it's going. And then, you know, senators and Congress people get paid really, really good benefits, like free furniture up to like $60,000 a year. There's a lot of unnecessary government spending that we could cut. I do think that both sides of the political aisle are kind of crazy in their own sense. So, and I really haven't read through the GOP proposal too much. If we could just have some politicians that would actually meet in the middle, that would be great, but this is America. American politics are a circus. Best way I can describe it. Alright, these Amazon options really aren't changing too much, unfortunately, because we can't get a new low out of Amazon. We're just trading right above the daily low. Well, I guess the market open low, I should say. Oh, where the hell is the chart? There we go. 115.60 would be a new low. It's a yearly thing, though. Yeah, if we actually did end up going defaulting, it would be very, very chaotic. Interest rates across the board would skyrocket, and which kind of they already have because of the Fed raising interest rates as much as they did for the past couple of years. But if you actually did have a U.S. default, they would go much, much higher and put a lot of pain on anybody who owns debt. But yeah, this is a yearly circus that they put on with a debt limit to make themselves look like heroes at the last minute. I don't know if they'll actually get it done just because they're so far apart. And it seems like the divide between politicians, the polarization in politics is only getting worse and worse. So one of these days I feel like it's going to happen. Just because they can't set their differences aside. Yeah, exactly. All right, Amazon finally crossed below 115.50. My puts are going for 435 at the bid, 460 ask. Nice little 10% profit. And Amazon's barely in the green now, only up 0.3%. Let's see. I can either sell out of this or I can sell the next strike price. 118 put, reduce my cost down to $20 to make 100. I didn't open enough of these to really make that trade make sense. And it got bought up right at that new low too. QQQ is still kind of hanging in there right now. Surprisingly, with Amazon dropping. I would have thought that would have taken the Qs down a bit more, but not seeing that reaction yet. Well, if Amazon's pulling back, I would want to get into some QQQ puts. The 331 strike price are going for 150 right now. Probably want to set a stop loss at 140. Now they're going for 160. So a little bit pricey. Oh no, a majority of our debt is actually owned by the U.S. citizens. Social Security, Medicare, things like that. All the social programs. Yeah, student loans especially. I think America owns or owes like $1.5 trillion of student loans, something along those lines. How much U.S. student loan debt? $1.78 trillion. Well, that's also private loans too. I wonder how much is just federal. I wouldn't call it a bounce just yet. You do have that solid support of 330, but I would not call that a bounce until it's back to 50 RSI and above. 168 hours left until the US default. 168 over 24. Should be 8 hours, or 8 days. 7 days, yeah. Yep, McCarthy will be speaking to the press soon, in about an hour. Lower the money supply. VIX is up a ton today. I wouldn't be too opposed to some short VIX, like SVIXy. But given the debt ceiling drama, it's kind of hard to take that position with a lot of confidence. Terrifying position to be in. Like if you look at whenever COVID hit back in March 2020, they ended up sending SVIXy from 68 down to a low of 24. That would be pretty brutal. And I would think that that would be the kind of reaction we would see. A huge pop in the VIX if the US does end up defaulting in 7 days. Yeah, QQQ just lost 330. So like I said, I wouldn't call it a rally yet. You're still seeing it trading at 30 RSI, so it's extremely weak right now. You want to see this back to 50 in order to call it a rebound. So far, it's just been a slide since 9:40. Can't believe Amazon is still up by half. You got that support right at 114.76, but it's still well above that level right now. Yeah. End of day yesterday was pretty rough. The last 2-3 hours of the day just kept selling off from about 12 o'clock. Like I said, if Amazon manages to go red today, I'm thinking Qs will be between 327 and 328. And we're getting very, very close to it. Amazon's only up by 0.4% as of right now. Well, there's the new daily low on Amazon. They're starting to jack up the puts, 455 to 470. I'm thinking about selling them at 460. Too late. How much should you put away from profits? Hard to say. Most of my account right now is in cash. I have 18,000 cash in a $28,000 account. So for me, it's about 60% cash. But that's also because I think a lot of stocks are just overvalued right now, which might be wrong, might be right. Who knows? Hard to put my money into any stocks when you have these nosebleed valuations for big tech. Amazon's really having a hard time being bearish. Every time it drops a little bit, somebody buys it right back up. It's just kind of gyrating, but down. Do I think it'll turn into something like Johnson & Johnson once it's cash neutral? I think that, I don't know, Apple doesn't really have a lot of growth in it anymore. So at some point, I feel like it's just going to become a dividend stock, which, I mean, the dividend for it is okay. You're getting paid 24 cents. Actually, that's pretty terrible. 24 cents for a $171 stock. 24 times 4, if they're paying that, that'd be about $1 for 171. You're only getting like 0.5%. So it's, if they start handing out heavier dividends, then I could see it being a better stock. But if they're only giving out 0.05%, I really don't see why many people would want to buy it. Just because I feel like a lot of their growth now is kind of behind them, unless they can kind of pivot into some new innovative space. But it seems like the innovation at Apple is kind of stalled for a while. A lot of money has come from services, which has been, very profitable for them as a software business. So your margins are going to be really good. But at some point, they've got to kind of change it up and make money somewhere else. You can't just rely on services forever to just keep going up infinitely. Yeah, I mean, I guess they do have, the global aspect. If you look at it from outside of the United States, if they can bring down their prices for, like the lower end iPhones, and they could sell to other markets that aren't U.S. based. But their hardware just isn't as profitable as their software is. I guess software would actually get a tailwind if more people are using it. I love QQQ. Yeah, I love being short QQQ for most of the time. Which hasn't fared well for me the past couple of weeks. But the last couple of days have been pretty decent. IWM is going down to 175. Down 1.3% today. Horrible day. SPY's down 0.9, almost down to that 1% mark. All right, Amazon's going back to 115.30. Hopefully they don't keep it in this range here. That would be annoying as hell. All the big tech names are down besides Amazon. Apple's down 0.3%. That's the next best tech stock, which is down 0.3%. Meta's down half. Microsoft 0.75. Google down 1.7%. That's the second day in a row. Google has really been kind of hammered. Yesterday it was down around 2% too. It's a very tough day for last couple days for Google. And NVDA down 3%. Jesus. Right before earnings too. That's going to be interesting. Oh man, Sox S is ripping up today. $18. This is a triple leverage short semiconductors. So with NVIDIA down 2.8, AMD down by 2%, AMAT's down 3%. Very rough day for the semis. The only way that I could see a SPY rebound coming, well, I guess we're close to the 410 mark. So we might hold that support. That could be a structural support. But I think the only way that we get like a decent rebound for SPY is if we have a resolution for the debt ceiling by like the next 2 days. Today is Wednesday, so they have 7 days in order to get the deal done. So they're very, very pressed for time, which is kind of freaking the markets out at the moment. But if we lose 410, it's a very important level. We haven't gone below 410 in a while. And each time that we did go below 410, it was very short-lived. So if we do end up managing to lose 410 and sticking below that, it could be a pretty brutal sell-off. But, you know, if we do have if we come closer to a resolution for the debt ceiling next couple of days, it's probably just going to reverse that, keep us in the range between 410 and 420. Which we've just been trading between for the past like 6 weeks now. We finally ended up breaking above 420, but the last couple of days we ended up losing it. Do I ever try TQs? No. Not a huge fan of leverage ETF options just because you already have leverage to begin with. Got stopped out for 530 calls. Yeah, not too surprising with SPY down almost 1% now. I do sometimes, usually for earnings. I used to trade around like economic events like CPI, Fed meetings, stuff like that, but the markets have been kind of detached from fundamentals and more based on like price levels and technical analysis. It's been more focus on that versus, you know, going off of whatever the CPI print is. The markets just don't really react to that kind of data anymore, it doesn't seem like. So swing trading, I haven't been doing a lot of swing trading recently because of that. I do swing trade earnings reports like NVIDIA. I'm swinging right now, assuming between 290 to 330. I'm probably going to close out of that one just because we're getting pretty close to 290 already. That would only be an $8 drop for a $300 stock, so it only needs to drop like 3%. So that's kind of got me on edge. Luckily, I didn't do an iron condor. Instead, I did a double diagonal, which hasn't lost too much of its value. I would imagine if I did an iron condor instead, I probably would have lost more. Calendar spreads, so you just have two different strike prices. The one that I use is called a double diagonal. So I set a range I think NVIDIA will be in within the end of the week between 290 and 330. So I sold that for this week's expiration. The call at 330 and then the put at 290. And then I bought next week's expiration, one strike price higher for the call, one strike price lower for the put. So it's kind of like an iron condor, but with different expiration dates. And the idea behind this is that you'll pay a debit in order to open the trade instead of getting a credit like you would with iron condor. But the way that this kind of plays out, I'll show here, is you actually make more money whenever the stock is close to the strike prices that you choose for your put and your call that you sell. So if we set this up, we'll get the profit loss over here. So the way that this is set up, if NVIDIA is trading at 290 at the end of this week, then I can make $840. And then if NVIDIA is trading at 330 by the end of the week, I can make $1,030. My cost is 171 and my max loss for the trade is 406. So you're getting paid a lot better than you would with iron condor. And then you make more money at the edges versus an iron condor, you just make the same throughout. Now your profit will drop if it's in the middle between your strike prices to only 500. But given that you're risking 400, you're still getting a better than 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. Qs just went back above 330 just now. Amazon's trying to recover here back to 50 on the RSI. They dropped those 331 puts down to 165 now. Yeah, I'm thinking about getting out of these Amazon puts before it starts ramping up if Q starts to recover. They're going for 420. It's not really much of a profit, but I don't want to risk that reversal. Let's see. Qs is still looking bearish at 40 on the RSI. So if Amazon just follows what the Qs is doing today, could still hold this, but my worry is that Amazon finally goes back above 50 RSI. That would turn either bullish or neutral, and it would just trade flat or up for the rest of the day, which I don't want to end up risking. So I think what I'll do, if we do manage to go above 116, I want to know that. And then if we do manage new lows down to 115.25 or below, create an alert for that. So I'll close either at 116 or 115.25 for these 119 puts expiring next week. SPY's about 409 today, yeah. 410.40, so wouldn't be too shocked to see it hold above 410 even. Very important support down there. But you are still very bearish in terms of RSI. Relative strength, it's at 32. For QQQ, it's at 36. So everything's just kind of getting sold off to hell in a handbasket today. So as a momentum trade, I probably wouldn't assume that SPY would be above 410, but based on price levels, I would think that it would hold it. Yeah, FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. Not till a few more hours, and then you have McCarthy speaking at 11:45. See if he gives any updates for the debt ceiling. But yeah, I think that's all the trading we got for today. Got that Amazon put still going on. Amazon's still between my price targets. So hopefully we'll close that later on today for some profits. And that's it for today. And I'll catch y'all tomorrow at 9:30. Do I think there will be a contradictory market movement when the debt ceiling is resolved? Possibly. I mean, if you really think about it, the debt ceiling being lifted is going to kind of perpetuate inflation to continue to go higher. So if they do raise the debt limit, it's not exactly good. But given that we've sold off so much the last couple of days because we're in fear of the debt limit not being raised, we could see a half decent recovery. Maybe back to the 413.50 level, I would guess. But yeah, that's it for today, and I'll catch y'all tomorrow. See you, everybody.